There we go. It looks like, at least according to the studio, we have officially clicked on to YouTube. So I will say hello to everybody and thank you for clicking on. Greatly appreciated. It's Undercover Info for Monday, the 6th month, 24th day, 24th year of the 21st century. And again, we say hello. Thank you very much for clicking on. We just finished championship wrestling for a Monday night, and not sure what's going on with our boy Pat McAfee, but that's something we'll have to get settled on. Got some things to talk about tonight, so um, let's just get to it and start out with see what's happening on the X Files, the Twitter square. We start off with Vivek Ramaswamy. Why do we start off with Vivek Ramaswamy? I'm not going to play what he is speaking about here, but the word in the underground, the info on the underground scene is that Vivek Ramaswamy will probably be Donald Trump's vice presidential um, candidate, and he will announce that he's going to announce that supposedly Thursday at the debate, and we will see if indeed that is the case, but that's what's going on in the underground right now. Vivek Ramaswamy will be announced Thursday during the debate as Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate in an attempt to reach out to minorities and to quote unquote the youth. And we will see why he needs to reach out to the youth here coming up. Um, the volcano Fuego in Guatemala erupted again earlier today, and some absolutely spectacular footage of that eruption. And of course, we've talked before on here about the frequency that it's not uncommon for lightning to be in the areas of volcanoes, and of course earthquakes along the same line with volcanoes. But both lightning generated from the ground to the sky, and from the sky looks like into the heart of the volcano, both in that unique 15 seconds of footage. Um, this is I told everybody last night that I had the footage of the actual cluster munitions going off in on the beach in Crimea at Sevastopol, and I didn't play it. So here's that footage. And again, this is not graphic. This is just the audio, and you can hear the various bomblets going off. We talked about this last night that this is not playing well in numerous places on the world stage. We'll touch on that in just a couple of minutes. I mentioned this last week as well, that there are conflicts going on all over the world. I mentioned quite often the 5 potential theaters where United States military could become engaged in conflict, and of course those being right here at home, um, as well as what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, what's going on between Taiwan and China, what's going on between North Korea, South Korea with the aid of Russia, and of course, what is happening in the Middle East as it looks like that is on a course of expansion. We'll touch on that coming up in a little bit. And I mentioned last week that some of the most horrific um, things are happening in Africa, and it just does not get talked about at all. Uh, this comes from Save the Children crisis in Sudan, truly a children's crisis. 1,500 children have been subjected to extreme violence. 14 million children need urgent humanitarian support. So, the only reason the United States doesn't say there's a world war going on is because there's no fighting here at this time. And the general public's not aware of how engaged we are in fighting in other areas. And once once we begin publicly engaging on, people will understand where we're at as far as we are in a tenuous situation in the world, and that's my opinion. Turkish forces preparing for an incursion into Iraq to fight the Kurdish PKK. Uh, Numerous military convoys on the move. We've got another shot of that coming up. And this is from WikiLeaks 3 hours ago. Julian Assange is free. Um, he is the founder of WikiLeaks. He's been in prison for over 5 years. Um, and and this all came about quite quickly today. Um, Assange agreed to plead guilty in the United States to espionage, and in exchange for time served in the British prison, um, he left Belmarsh Maximum Security Prison, and he landed in Washington D.C. For just a few hours ago. Now, this is from the FBI out of Houston, Texas. 3 heart surgeons at BSL Medical Center engaged in a regular practice of running 2 operating rooms at once while delegating key aspects of extremely complicated and risky heart surgeries to unqualified medical residents. That's basically greed, all right? Trying to make as much money as you can, um, running a basic assembly line with unqualified residents, and the FBI will be has arrested them and will be prosecuting. Um, I said the underground sources are telling me that Vivek Ramaswamy has been chosen by Trump's team to be the vice presidential candidate, to reach out to minorities and to reach out to the youth. As far as this CBS poll from June 17th through the 21st, that's when the poll was conducted. Voters under 30, 61% more likely to vote for Donald Trump, or I'm sorry, for Joe Biden than for Donald Trump. 38% say they will indeed vote for Trump. Under 30, that's a significant um, demographic in the country. And this is from U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, and he said, "quote: We regret any civilian casualties in this war, but we provide weapons to Ukraine so that it can defend its territory, including in Crimea, which of course is part of Ukraine." And that was his response to the cluster bomb that went off on the beach, and it killed some kids, it wounded some kids, it wounded several people. Um, LA-based Israeli real estate companies are selling West Bank properties to American buyers. Um, Again, the West Bank is supposedly Palestinian territory. We've talked about it on the show here, especially when Chris is on with us, that quietly it is the removal of all Palestinians from Israeli territory, not just Gaza, but while the focus has been on Gaza, tremendous efforts have been underway in the West Bank area as well as in East Jerusalem to to basically drive people out of their family homes. And an LA based Israeli real estate company is selling up that West Bank property to American buyers. Pro Palestinian activists are protesting this ethnic cleansing apartheid, as it is labeled here. Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao, who had her home raided by the FBI last week, claims she's done nothing wrong and blames radical right wing forces. Um, nobody ever owns up to anything. Nobody has any honor or valor anymore. Nobody says, yeah, I did it, and I'll take my lumps. No, nobody did it, and everybody's a victim. Um, the Office of Congressional Ethics just found there is, quote, substantial reason to believe, end quote, that Representative Ronnie Jackson, former doctor to Donald Trump, Jackson converted campaign funds to personal use, or his campaign spent funds that were not attributed or attributable to a bona fide campaign or political purpose. So, I don't know if anybody's going to be absolutely surprised by that. I doubt that very, very seriously. Um, this is from Martin Luther King III. Mark Robinson called black men, quote, deadbeats, end quote. Black women, quote, whorish, end quote. Robinson also mocked the civil rights movement and called Martin Luther King's father, Martin Luther King Jr., called him an inferior pastor. Uh, and in a classy way, Martin Luther King III says, let me be clear, Dad would be gravely disappointed in Mark Robinson. And Robinson is um, endorsed by one Donald J. Trump. I think that's probably the reason for disappointment from Martin Luther King III would expect from his father. I don't know if that's the inference or not, but that's the gist I'm getting from this. Um, as he is against the governor candidate for North Carolina from the Republican Party. Um, Everyone wants to have sex with me, says Joe Biden. And Barack Obama says that's not what fuck Joe Biden means, Barack. Um, Chief Executive Leadership Institute CEO Jeffrey Sonnenfeld says there are no Fortune 500 CEOs who are supporting Trump. Uh, it is a historic break to have none of the rich people, Fortune 500 CEOs, supporting a Republican. It's unfounded. It's more than historic. It could only happen in this situation. The Trump economic package frightens them. It's extremely inflationary, and it'll lead to an increase in inflation and plunge the gross domestic product. And these very, very rich people do not like the flow to be disrupted. Um, and if they're concerned, I think everybody ought to be concerned. But this is a cult of personality election, not a cult, or not an election based on facts and policy. Large convoy of Turkish army armored vehicles once again heading towards northern Iraq, as we talked about earlier. So things are going to be heating up in the Middle East, and on a number of fronts within that region, and pardon me, the possibility of the United States involvement is very high at this point, at least according to what we've been told. Now, the commander of the U.S. Army 19 hours ago, Charlie Brown, General Charlie Brown, said, quote, "We will not be able to defend Israel in a war with Hezbollah." Um, the U.S. State Department and the White House both said just the exact opposite of that. They said that if Israel is involved in a full out war with Hezbollah, the United States will be 100% totally behind Israel, even going as conducting Air Force raids into Lebanon. But the commander of the army says we will not be able to defend Israel in a war with Hezbollah, and we do not want to suffer a loss, um, and we're going to be in danger of that because we're going to have a um, strike force led by an aircraft carrier off the coast of northern Israel or off the coast of Lebanon itself, and that will be a target for attacks. And if enough drones come at it, damage will be done. Um, that escalates things to a totally different level. Alex Jones, the notorious far right conspiracy outlet InfoWars, will be shut down, sold off. A bankruptcy court appointed a trustee said, pardon me, let me get a drink. That was 4 hours ago. Uh, 4 hours ago from CNN. French people protesting the Olympics by poo pooing in the river the swimmers are supposed to use. Um, this is not a joke. The people are upset because the Olympics are going to be in Paris, and the government of Paris, in preparation of the Olympics, spent a whole bunch of money trying to clean up the River Seine so that there could be um, swimming competition. And the people of France thought it was a waste because there were other things the money should be spent on. They organized a poop protest, um, which is which is for real. They've got specific locations where they know the poop will congregate, and it's deep enough that it's going to create the most disgusting water possible. Um, I'd like to say this is all, this is fun and jokes, but um, eh, that's what's happening. They're pooping in the river. I think I've got one more. I think I've got another source so that for people that don't believe it, but um, and and this is one of those things where okay, come on now, come on now. Um, you're pushing the boundary. You're starting to believe your own hype. Um, Trump said, "quote If I took this shirt off, you would see a beautiful, beautiful person, but you would see wounds all over. I've taken a lot of wounds. I can tell you more than I suspect any president ever. I don't know how. I don't know how he took any wounds at all. Never played any sports. Um, I don't know. Maybe he got a vaccination sometime, and that's what he's talking about. But that's just a sample of the shit he's selling. U.S. officials have denied rumors that Russia shot down a U.S. drone over the Black Sea. This came in 5 hours ago. Um, yeah, Russia's been talking a lot that they indeed shot down a drone. We've got some footage, or we got a clip on that coming up. Um, Kenyan officers are now on aircraft and headed for Haiti. This was 5 hours ago. A Kenyan police advance team had already arrived in Haiti, and as the first of the security forces, and then more Kenyan officers are on aircraft heading for Haiti. So we will, as we always do, we'll keep track of what's going on the island, just less than 150 miles off the coast of Florida. And of course, Chris will be with us Monday night, and we'll do the world situation report, let you know what's going on all throughout the world as best we can. Um, this is footage reportedly showing Israeli Defense Forces moving to the Lebanese border ahead of an increasingly likely ground invasion. You can see they definitely are Israeli forces, IDF forces, and it looks like they might be massing for an incursion. Initial reports that Russia has shot down a U.S. reconnaissance drone over the Black Sea. Um, of course, the reconnaissance drones are not armed. They are what are known as um, loitering assets, and which means they can just basically hover in one area or circle in a very small area and spend an exuberant amount of time um, monitoring what's going on in the area they're at. Our friend Lori Arnold was going to stop at the grocery store after protesting Sunday, and police had it closed off. Um, Apparently, there was a bomb threat, and this isn't the first. There's a rash of bomb threats against Brookshire's grocery stores, and the store was indeed searched and eventually cleared. Um, we mentioned Lori yesterday in how she had been in the Dallas news. Well, she was also on CBS out of Dallas yesterday. And let me get what we don't have the volume. Is there no volume to this? Oh, here we go.
Some got into heated exchanges with church members.
When I heard that this pastor had got away with molesting a child and now is worth $100 million and has people following him in this church, I felt like a voice needed to be had for the voiceless.
Protesters are also calling for accountability in church
while
leadership.
we're talking about um, I mentioned both of these ladies last night, stars of the Summer of Chud. That, of course, was Lori Arnold right there. And we also talked about last night, we talked about Anarchy Princess. We showed a clip from her. Let's show another clip from her. She put out tonight an hour, 14 minutes worth of her Philadelphia experience with Donald Trump in town. I'm going to play you just a couple of seconds here.
Don't touch me with your stinky ass. Small, he has a small penis. He showed me it before I got here. It's like chunks. It's like a mushroom. It's micro penis. What's up, Philip Anderson? You still banned on Twitter?
I'm not banned anywhere.
Oh wait, you're not Philip Anderson? Take off your glasses. Who are you? Who are you?
I ain't right about a lion.
I thought you were someone else. Never mind. I got more. I got 50 more. I got 50 more. Hey, I'm pressing charges. I'm pressing charges.
Kensington. Go to Kensington. You whore. Go to Kensington. Go to Kensington. Go to Kensington. You crack.
Okay, there's just a brief sample of the Christians supporting Donald Trump in Philadelphia this past weekend. There's so much more in this entire video. Again, Anarchy Princess. It's under the Philadelphia Trump Rally is the title. And we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. And when we do, head over there and check that out. Of course, always check out Lori Arnold. Make sure you subscribe, like, and of course, share the material from those ladies. I found this I found this bizarre. More than a third of Americans earning at least $250,000 annually say they are living paycheck to paycheck. This is according to Bloomberg. More than a third, 33%, more than 33% of Americans that make at least $250 or $250,000 annually are struggling. If I were to say what I survive on a month, and these people can't make it, they're living paycheck to paycheck, $250K a year. I don't know. It's just I just found it astounding. This is something I want to play here. This is our
Here they are,
extended
teachers,
our little extended segment of the evening, if you will, and it will give me a chance to blow my nose here and get a drink. This is definitely something that we need to think about.
Instead, let's reduce the 311 million Americans to just a representative 100 people. Make it simple. Here they are, teachers, coaches, firefighters, construction workers, engineers, doctors, lawyers, some investment bankers, a CEO, maybe a celebrity or two. Now let's line them up according to their wealth. Poorest people on the left, wealthiest on the right, just a steady row of folks based on their net worth. We'll color code them like we did before based on which 20% quintile they fall into. Now let's reduce the total wealth of the United States, which was roughly $54 trillion in 2009, to this symbolic pile of cash. And let's distribute it among our 100 Americans. Well, here's socialism, all the wealth of the country distributed equally. We all know that won't work. We need to encourage people to work and work hard to achieve that good old American dream and keep our country moving forward. So here's that ideal we asked everyone about. Something like this curve. This isn't too bad. We've got some incentive, as the wealthiest folks are now about 10 to 20 times better off than the poorest Americans. But hey, even the poor folks aren't actually poor, since the poverty line has stayed almost entirely off the chart. We have a super healthy middle class with a smooth transition into wealth. And yes, Republicans and Democrats alike chose this curve. 9 out of 10 people, 92%, said this was a nice, ideal distribution of America's wealth. But let's move on. This is what people think America's wealth distribution actually looks like. Not as equitable, clearly, but for me, even this still looks pretty great. Yes, the poorest 20 to 30% are starting to suffer quite a lot compared to the ideal, and the middle class is certainly struggling more than they were, while the rich and wealthy are making roughly 100 times that of the poorest Americans and about 10 times that of the still healthy middle class. Sadly, this isn't even close to the reality. Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change, and the middle class is barely distinguishable from the poor. In fact, even the rich between the top 10 and 20 percentile are worse off. Only the top 10% are better off. And how much better off? So much better off that the top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. Here's his stack of cash, restacked, all by itself. This is the top 1% we've been hearing so much about. So much green in his pockets that I have to give him a whole new column of his own because he won't fit on my chart. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. While the richest 1% take home almost a quarter of the national income today, in 1976, they took home only 9%, meaning their share of income has nearly tripled in the last 30 years. The top 1% own half the country's stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The bottom 50% of Americans own only 0.5% of these investments, which means they aren't investing. They're just scraping by. I'm sure many of these wealthy people have worked very hard for their money. But do you really believe that the CEO is working 380 times harder than his average employee? Not his lowest paid employee, not the janitor, but the average earner in his company. The average worker needs to work more than a month to earn what the CEO makes in 1 hour. We certainly don't have to go all the way to socialism to find something that is fair for hardworking Americans. We don't even have to achieve what most of us consider might be ideal. All we need to do is wake up and realize that the reality in this country is not at all what we think it is.
Again, just a little something to think about on a Monday night. Christian nationalist Doug Wilson complains that by giving women the right to vote, that we're, quote, we were in fact taking the vote away from families, end quote. Not exactly sure what he's getting at, but okay, at least the guy doesn't have a history of pedophilia that we are aware of at this time. But it's early. French people are protesting with shit in Paris because Emmanuel Macron claimed he spent 1 billion lira to clean up La Seine in preparation for the 2024 Paris Olympics, and to show how clean the river is, he would swim in it. Dans la Chaîne is mobilizing people of France to indeed, as we have said, poop in the river. Russia says U.S. is responsible for the deadly Ukrainian attack on Crimea, as we've talked about, and that we should be ready for a response. We've got Putin saying that coming up here in just a second. Is Israel threatening Lebanon with nukes? Is the question. Here's that brief clip, and you can decide for yourself. The question, is Israel threatening? They're threatening, I'll tell you ahead of time, they're threatening with something unconventional.
أفادت وسائل إعلام إسرائيلية أن إسرائيل أبلغت الولايات المتحدة باحتمال استخدام أسلحة غير مسبوقة في حال نشوب حرب شاملة مع حزب الله في لبنان. ونقلت القناة 12 أن الرسالة الإسرائيلية إلى البيت الأبيض أكدت أن استخدام هذه الأسلحة التي لم تحدد طبيعتها سيحول دون الانجرار إلى حرب طويلة، كما سيعمل على حسمها سريعا. ولم تحدد القناة الجهات الإسرائيلية التي أرسلت الرسالة أو توقيت إرسالها ولا طبيعة الرد الأمريكي عليها. جاء في الرسالة وفق القناة تهديد إسرائيلي صريح بالتحرك عسكريا في لبنان في حال لم يرتدع حزب الله قريبا وفق وصف القناة الإسرائيلية.
Okay, this is all alleged, obviously, but I think it's important we understand what is being broadcast on Arab TV. Um, this is this is what they are being told, and sometimes I find personally what I hear on other news organizations is often much more closer to what actually is going on than is sometimes put out by Western organizations. I'll just put that out there. Russia warns the U.S. to brace for retaliation after the missile strike. Again, if you weren't with us last night, 8 ATACMS U.S. supplied missiles were launched from Ukraine. They were guided by a drone with satellite information from U.S. satellites, a U.S. drone, um, and they had cluster bomb warheads. That means the warhead releases from the rocket, then it will open, and numerous bomblets will come out of the warhead. So the warhead actually becomes like a 100 to 150 um, smaller bombs are deployed over a specific area in these cluster bombs, as we heard earlier in the show, if you were with us. Um, Russia's not happy about that and looks at it as an escalation. We've reported that Russia has said they've shot down one of our drones. We've said, no, you didn't. And we will see. We will see where that goes. Um, Yesterday, this guy won in Singapore. This guy won $4 million at the Marina Bay Casino in Singapore. Um, he went Yahoo, got incredibly excited, jumped up, and had a heart attack and died from cardiac arrest before they could get him to the hospital. So there you go. Sometimes fate has a sick sense of humor. The guy wins $4 million and dies before he's able to even put it in some kind of fund for his grandkids. Um, I mentioned this the other day. NASA astronauts stranded. This is 8 hours ago. It's starting to get some circulation. NASA astronauts stranded in space due to malfunctioning Boeing Starliner. Um, Experts say SpaceX could be sent to perform a emergency rescue mission from the space station. Emergency officials are on high alert as a Minnesota dam is in imminent danger of critical failure. Um, Emergency officials, dam operators in Rapidan, Minnesota, are on high alert following heavy rain and massive water flow from the Blue River. And you can see from the overhead shot, um, this is the dam portion over here, and it's already broken through. Um, Broken through the area uh, where it wasn't concrete reinforced. It was just embankment, and you can see the river is about to breach the dam, um, and I just checked, and the river has indeed breached the dam. So not going to be a good situation up in the Minnesota area. We talked about this, touched on this last night. The world's largest telescope, which was in Puerto Rico, mysteriously collapses. Um, just as we're talking about all kinds of potential near Earth objects and potential unidentified flying phenomena, the world's largest telescope collapses. And you can see from the security cameras, the cables start snapping and start breaking. And you can see the vast cement bowl reflective base that the telescope the telescope used to utilize up until yesterday when it was when it was destroyed. Um, a lot of crazy rumors that Mike Flynn and QAnon Fringe were going to secretly try to oust Trump at the Republican National Convention. And this indeed, I touched on this last night. I started with um, the fact that Vivek Ramaswamy was going to be Trump's vice presidential candidate, allegedly. At least that's the rumor. We'll find out soon enough. Supposedly Thursday at the debate. We'll be covering the debate Thursday, and I mentioned Lori Arnold earlier. Lori's got something she's going to be doing on debate night as well. So we will pop in over to her channel and see what she is up to, as well as our normal debate coverage. But that is then, and this is now, once again, now Trump team battles the RNC revolt plans. I don't know how serious this is. I've heard about this for a while, that they want to get Mike Flynn and Carrie Lake, Flynn as the presidential candidate and Lake as the VP, to replace Donald Trump. And because Trump is not extreme enough. And as crazy as that sounds, that's what the far right has been pitching. We've talked about it on here. They talk a lot about, they fantasize about Trump getting assassinated so that he can be replaced. We even played an extended segment on it from with Alex Jones and what's his name, Ivan Reichland. China considers Islam as a mental illness, quote unquote. China closed down, demolished, and converted mosques for secular use as a part to fight extremism. Authorities have removed Islamic architecture features such as domes and minarets, and dismantling many of the Muslim facilities in China. So there we go. That is what's up for tonight, and I'll pop back over. I haven't popped over at all, so I'll pop over here and say hello to those in chat. I always appreciate everybody hops in chat. I thank you all for watching live. The majority of people, I thank you all that watch at your convenience. The majority of you do. I greatly appreciate the ones hanging out live and in the chat. There's Nancy McMonarch. Hello. Lori Arnold. Not going away. And Lori and not going away. Nancy McMonarch. Thank you, ladies, for being here. D, thank you. Did Trump choose a VP? No, he hasn't officially yet, but a lot of the speculation behind the scenes is that Vivek Ramaswamy, in order to try to reach out to minorities and the youth, will be Team Trump's vice presidential running mate. Hello, Pat Tolliver. And let's see, we got anybody else? Shelly G, how are you? Peace, love, and sunshine. Hello. And there we go. He's going to announce it Thursday. Yes, Shelly G. That is the word that I've gotten. Trump's going to announce it during the debate on Thursday who his preferred candidate is. Now, I'm also shortly before I started watching championship wrestling tonight. Shortly before that, I had heard rumblings that Trump's really trying to get out of the debate. He doesn't want to do the debate, and CNN said something to one of Trump's campaign people and disrespected one of Trump's campaign people. And Steve Bannon is trying to get Trump to drop out of the debate because of that. So I just want you to remember, normally the debates are not held until after the conventions. All right. After the nominations are secure. That's when normally we have debates. And they're having this debate before both conventions. And I think if this goes off the rails, this will lead to outcries for one or both of them to be replaced on the ballots. We'll see. We'll see what happens Thursday night. I'll be back on Wednesday night for certain at 11 o'clock. And I may be on tomorrow night. I don't know yet. But I'll be on Thursday night for sure. It all depends if I got anything else going tomorrow night and what happens during the day tomorrow. I'll be on for sure again for Thursday at 9 o'clock. I'll be on probably 8:45 for the debate that begins at 9 o'clock between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and that'll be Thursday night. So thank you all for being here. Greatly appreciate you. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share. Don't forget, check out Lori Arnold on both YouTube and on X. Make sure you're following Lori. Make sure you're following Anarchy Princess. And I mean, these ladies are doing the same things they've been doing. You know, for some people, it's about nothing but clicks and content and views, and other people, it's really about causes. And over time, you find out who's doing it because they're passionate about causes, and the people doing it for the right reasons need to be supported. So help support them if you would. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Love you like chocolate chip cookies, and I mean that. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. Really, just try to be a light. Just be a positive in a negative world. Be a light. I love y'all. Thanks for watching.